So I'm sure most of you guys have probably seen this by now, but for those of you who haven't, there is a lot of rumors and reports actually going around with Donovan Mitchell right now, with pretty much every reporter and their dad actually reporting that Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz look like they are about to part ways, with the Jazz actually changing their minds and currently are, open to actually trading him. And then, of course, there's been the big report that the New York Knicks are already putting a trade package together. Again, that one is being reported by The Athletic. And I think Woj also reported, if not Woj, it was another big reporter, like a Shams type of guy as well, that did actually say that the Knicks have already started negotiations with the Jazz about Donovan Mitchell. In fact, Woj did put out a thing saying, after previously shutting down inquiries on moving All-Star guard Donovan Mitchell, rival teams say the Utah Jazz are showing a willingness to listen on possible trade scenarios. Again, we all know that the Knicks are all over this, and if he's going to get traded at all, I think we can certainly say that he is going to probably go to the New York Knicks. Donovan Mitchell has been linked to the Knicks for pretty much the end of time. I mean, he's from New York. I believe there have been countless of videos of people actually going up to him and saying, come to New York, man, and are you going to come to New York, while he's been, in New York doing his thing. Again, he's had some interesting responses to a lot of those videos as well. But before I get into what I think the Knicks will trade for him and, how likely I think this all is and all that type of stuff, I just first of all like to say that I don't think the Utah Jazz have to trade Donovan Mitchell. I don't think they are being forced to trade Donovan Mitchell. I actually believe that the roster they've got right now is possibly still a playoff roster in the Western Conference. I mean, they've got a lot of depth. They've got Patrick Beverley, Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic. Of course, you've got Jordan Clarkson there as well. There's a fair number of players on this team. They really didn't lose a whole lot, except Joe Ingles. They, of course, lost Royce O'Neal. They lost to Brooklyn. And then Rudy Gobert to Minnesota. But again, they brought in a lot of players, which actually makes me think that they don't exactly need to do this trade if they don't want to. It's really up to them on whether or not they need to make this trade happen, and there's nothing forcing them to. I don't think Donovan Mitchell has publicly requested a trade or anything like that. I think he has a lot of interest in going to New York, but honestly, I don't think it straight up is going to 100% happen. Although, that's what I think Utah are thinking. I think New York, though, I think the Knicks are 100% thinking they are getting Donovan Mitchell at this point. I mean, if you're a Knicks fan, you probably are thinking the same thing. I mean, I got a good friend who is a Knicks fan, and he's already basically talking to me that he wants to buy Donovan Mitchell's jersey. So I think we can all kind of realize that, yeah, there's a big chance that the Knicks do get him, and they definitely have the assets. I mean, the Jazz, the truth is, though, the Jazz have already discussed a trade with the Knicks. Like, they're already in negotiations from pretty much what we've heard so far. And the truth is, I definitely feel like they're going to be able to get him for a pretty decent package. Now, I genuinely believe they're going to offer up Evan Fournier. I don't think there's really a whole lot of room right now for Evan Fournier on this New York Knicks team. I mean, they brought him in for shooting and all that type of stuff, but it just didn't seem like he really fit in with Tom Thibodeau and what he was wanting to, kind of play and run. And I think a lot of Knicks fans have kind of been asking for him to be traded, and I definitely see where this doesn't really work out. And if you're bringing in Donovan Mitchell, then Fournier is just not going to start. And you don't particularly want to be bringing a dude like him off the bench, I wouldn't think. So I feel like he will definitely be in this trade. At least if he's not in this trade, they will probably trade him for someone else. But I think he will be, just to somewhat match up contracts. And I still think Utah want to bring in some tradable assets out of this, because I think they definitely might run a season where they kind of do what OKC did a couple years ago, where they just have a bunch of guys that are kind of unwanted by the NBA and try and make the playoffs. You know, one of those guys being Mike Conley. They've been really struggling to try and trade him. You know, they'll just have dudes like Evan Fournier and Pat Bev and all these type of guys that are quality players in the NBA. They probably just haven't found a good enough trade in time to make it happen, so they'll probably just bring it to the regular season, to be honest. But again, I believe Evan Fournier will be a part of this deal. I know some people have been saying Derrick Rose, but I don't think the Utah Jazz are going to want two of those guys. I think they're just going to want the one, which will be Fournier. Then they'll look at the young talent. Again, they'll definitely be asking for Cam Reddish. That is an absolute given. Cam Reddish has been very unlucky in the NBA. He hasn't been given the fair run and fair opportunity that I think he probably deserves. And I think he'll definitely be thrown into this deal as well. From what I'm hearing from a couple of the reports too, Quentin Grimes will be thrown in this deal, which you definitely don't want to see as a Knicks fan. You don't want to see Quentin Grimes go, because he's actually been really solid for the Knicks. But the issue is, you definitely will pass on a player like that if it does mean bringing in, you know, a guy like Donovan Mitchell. So as I said, it will be, I think, Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes. Those will probably be the three players. I'm not sure if they'll have to give up quickly. I know some people have been saying they have to. Some people are saying that he won't be thrown to this trade. I don't think so. I think they'd actually rather throw in an extra first round pick instead of trading away quickly at the moment. I think they like quickly on the Knicks, and I just think you need to keep some depth. Now, the realistic thing is, though, is we already know it's going to be 4 first-round picks at the minimum. I mean, that's what it's just going to be. And if you're going to keep quickly, it's probably going to be 5 first-round picks. And the reality is, I don't think the Knicks really care a whole lot about giving up those first-round picks, because I think they already own like 11 or something, which is pretty goddamn good. So they'll definitely probably trade away, I think, about 5. They'll probably, do the 5 first-round picks, Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, and a player like Quentin Grimes. I think that's a pretty good trade for both teams. You know, the Knicks bring in a legit all-star who would absolutely love it in New York, who I think would do really, really well. They get rid of Evan Fournier, who didn't really fit into their system that great. They get rid of Cam Reddish, who the coach doesn't even like to start off with. And then they lose a solid dude in Quentin Grimes. But again, those 5 first-round picks, if the Knicks go how they think they're going to go, those won't be the greatest picks ever. And again, this is a big win for the Jazz, because you bring in 2 solid young guys that could do good for your team, and a tradable asset in Evan Fournier, and the 5 first-round picks definitely go and help your rebuild out quite a bit. And then if you're the Knicks, you got a pretty goddamn good team. At the 1, you'd have Jalen Brunson. The 2, you got Donovan Mitchell. The 3, you got Cam Reddish. 4, Julius Randle. And 5, Mitchell Robinson. Then off the bench, you would of course have Derrick Rose. Obi Toppin would still be there. You know, those would be, I think, 2 really solid contributors for them off the bench. You still got Emmanuel Quickley, who will also be there. Miles McBride, I think, will be there. I don't know about their backup center. I don't think they actually really have one. They'll probably go out and just sign one in free agency. But I don't think that will be the hardest thing to do. I definitely feel like there is still a couple of really solid free agents available right now. You know, a dude that could, you know, bring in that hustle and I think would kind of actually fit maybe a mentality that they'd want to bring in New York could actually be like a Dwight Howard type. Then there's still other dudes out there like a Montrezl Harrell, who I know has some legal issues, but I mean, they're legal issues that a lot of NBA players have faced before and have gotten over pretty quickly. So he would be an interesting one right there. And then, yeah, it looks like they've got a pretty solid 9 or 10 man rotation with literally like 3 to 4 all-star caliber type players in that lineup. So there's a lot going on. I think the New York Knicks 100% do a deal like this. Utah also benefit, I think, from a deal like that, because with the Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell trade and all that type of stuff, they'll have like 15 first round picks or something like that. A lot of really good players as well, who I think they'll eventually trade away, but probably just keep for now, just to try and keep some relevancy, you know, try and compete for the play and do all that type of stuff. They definitely still could. I mean, there's still like a good core of like, you know, Evan Fournier, Patrick Beverley, Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jordan Clarkson still there, Cam Reddish now, Jared Vanderbilt, a bunch of other players as well. Like, there's still a really good core there that could 100% compete for the play-in and do stuff like that. So that would be very interesting to, of course, kind of see how that does go. Again, I'm interested to see this. I think this trade does get done. I think that's my final opinion, is maybe not the trade that I suggested, but what I kind of suggested is what's kind of going around on the internet at the moment. But I definitely feel like a trade of some sort does get done. The Knicks could even try and ask for a player or two that Utah do have. They could try and go out and get a Patrick Beverley or something, but who knows what they're going to do. Pat Bev would be so good in Tom Thibodeau's game plan and system, so that would be a cool one. But I'm not exactly too sure. There's a lot going into this. Definitely leave a like and subscribe to the channel and comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you guys think Donovan Mitchell gets traded to the New York Knicks, or do you guys think he doesn't? Of course, I would definitely like to know. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, my IRL/vlog channel. This is this channel for less NBA content and NBA news. Yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.